So welcome everyone to Podium. Podium is a super achiever-led educational platform for co-curricular content taught by the world's best teachers. We will be launching in October 2020, and our first set of programs will be contemporary dance, drama, calligraphy, logical reasoning, blogging, animation, creative writing, and public speaking. These programs will be taught by the world's best teachers, and we look forward to seeing you participate in those programs. Also, please join our Facebook page, that's facebook.com/podium classes, for regular updates and recorded sessions. So guys, today we have with us Mr. Sandeep Pal. Mr. Sandeep is an IMM Ahmedabad and BITS Pilani alumni, and he is a retail expert. With a 15 plus years experience in retail, he has worked in marketing, analytics, and operations, and is currently leading 300 plus stores of Pantaloon, and also has emerged as the youngest COO. On behalf of Team Podium, I thank Mr. Sandeep for joining us today. Welcome, sir. Over to you.
Thank you, Simran. Hello, friends, once again. All right, friends, it's so lovely to be with all of you today. What I'm going to do today in next hour or so is talk to a little bit about what happens behind doors when you shop. So how does a retail store work? What are the different kind of retail apparel stores? How is apparel or garments created? And what are the different roles which people play when they are in a store from the staff side? So I heard many of you talking about you are all love shopping, and I also love shopping, and most of us do, and we like to shop for different things. And I'm here to talk to you about what goes behind the scenes. So while you go and shop in your favorite stores or when you shop online, what all goes behind the scenes to make your shopping a pleasurable or a experience which you enjoy and you want to do it more and more. So the question I have, what all places do you guys shop? There are various kind of avenues where you can go and shop. The first kind is a store which is called a mom and pop stores, right? And you shop here, or somebody in your family shops here almost every day. A mom and shop store is nothing but, it's a colloquial term for a small family-owned independent business. The grocery store, the pharmacy store, or a hardware store, or a local small toy store in your vicinity is what is called a mom and pop store. A quick trivia. How many of you love McDonald's? Can we just, Simran, can we put them? Yeah, I see raise of hands. Two of you are saying you like McDonald's, Subway, Nike, and the American hypermarket chain, which is equivalent of Big Bazaar in India. These all started as a mom and pop store where somebody thought that we'll put up a store in our vicinity. It was like a nearby grocery store, and they got success. And then they started expanding that and opened more and more stores. And McDonald's now is a very large global chain. And similarly, Subway, Nike, and Walmart, right? The second kind of shopping is the high street shopping. What is the high street shopping? So every city, and you can imagine your town and think of what is the popular high street in your city. I'll talk about some of them in some of the bigger towns. So in Delhi, Connaught Place is a very, very popular high street. Similarly, in Hyderabad, Begumpet area has a very popular shopping street. In Bombay, Colaba Causeway. In Bangalore, there is MG Road, Brigade Road, and Commercial Street. They are popular shopping streets. And every town has a popular shopping street where you can go and shop and you can have a lot of fun. The third kind of shopping place is a shopping mall. I want to pause here and I want to ask you all. Yeah, I guess the screen is visible now and all the drawing is done on the screen. So moving on. And I love the fact that you guys like drawing. But moving on, we're talking about malls and you spoke about your favorite malls. But to tell you where was the first mall, when was the first mall created? The first mall came up in 1957 in the United States. This mall was called Bergen Mall, and another mall which came in 1959 was called Kalamazoo Mall. Both of them came in the US for the first time. And mall is an enclosed shopping space, generally air-conditioned space, which makes shopping very comfortable. And it's a large space, so it can cater to various occasions. So you can go and shop for your toys. You can do some gaming, you can buy your clothes, you can go and eat food, and you can do various things. And that's why it becomes a destination and gets in a lot of people. Moving to the fourth kind of shopping place, which is online shopping. And online shopping is places like Amazon, Flipkart, Pantaloons.com, there is VanHeusen.com, LouisPhilippe.com, and all your other favorite Hamleys.com, and all of these are online shopping places. The first online store was offered by a German company, which is called Intershop, in the year 1994. Okay. And then Amazon, which is very, very popular, started in 1995. And another popular e-com company is called eBay. They started in 1996. Okay. Now, when you go to a mall, and I'm here to talk more about a mall and also talk about a little bit more about apparel and fashion. When you go to a mall, tell me, when you go to a mall, what do you look forward to? And which outlets do you like to visit? Food. Somebody saying food. Clothes. Disha likes to shop and go to clothes store. Sean likes to go to a food store. Eating and gaming. Rayans likes that. Abhay, food. And a lot of you like to go to a mall for gaming and foods and toys. Right. So when you go to a mall, you have a lot of food outlets, restaurants, a food court, some fine dine restaurants. You also have your toy shop, stationery shop, a gaming arena. Then you also have a movie theater, which is very, very important, and you watch your favorite movies there. Spoke about what all do you get to see in a mall. So you said food, gaming, toys, apparel, watching a movie, your favorite kids movie, or any other movie which you like. All of that is why you go to a mall, right? And let's talk a little bit more about apparel. So in terms of apparel, there are 4 kind of apparel stores, right? There are boutiques, there are exclusive brand outlets or EBOs, there are multi-brand outlets, and there are departmental stores. A boutique is a store which offers designer wear. It's typically in your local area, and it offers large variety and typically are expensive designer wear items. Then you have these EBOs, which is a uni brand. So for example, tell me the brands which you like to shop from, and I have a few here. Let's say Ellen Solly Jr. or US Polo Kids, or whichever, or Levi's, or whichever other brands you like. They are exclusive brand outlets and they sell just one brand. So Divyanshi likes US Polo Kids, and that's a EBO store. The difference between a mall and a department. So I spoke about mall. Mall has everything, which is food, restaurant, apparel, gaming, and many more things. A departmental store is a store which sells apparel, accessories. Accessories is footwear, your sunglasses, cosmetics, other beauty fixes, and handbags, your school bags. All of that is what sells in a department store. Nandana likes H&M. And then there are these multi-brand outlets. Multi-brand outlets is a store which will sell multiple brands together. So Planet Fashion is one such store. There is a brand called Iconic. It has a kids store and it sells all the kids brand under one roof. There are stores in Jaipur and in Ahmedabad, and those are called multi-brand outlets. And every city has these old multi-brand outlets which sell all the brands under one roof. And like I said, departmental store is a store which sells all apparel for men, women, children, sells shoes, accessories, handbags, cosmetic, fragrances, and all of this, right? That's a departmental store, right? Crossword is a bookstore. Apparel store is a store. Apparel is basically garment, right? Your t-shirt, your shirt, your denim, all of this is called apparel. And a store like a Pantaloon store or a Ellen Solly store is apparel store. Apparel is clothes, right? Disha got explaining that right. It's called clothes. Crossword is a books and toys store, right? Now moving further. So when you go to shop, what happens? So there are 4 key things which happen when you go to shop, right? The first thing happens is you start looking at the clothes, right? Sometimes you have something in mind. Sometimes you're just going and checking out without knowing what you want to buy, right? So you browse, right? That's the first step in shopping. Then you shortlist your clothes. When you shortlist your clothes, you go and try them in the trial room. And then if you like them, you buy them, right? That's the shopping cycle. But the clothes, how are they made, right? Have you ever thought what happens in, how do you, when you go to a store, a lot of things happen before you come and like and buy a product or a t-shirt or a shirt or a denim, right? So what are the steps and what all goes behind the scenes when you're shopping, right? So your clothes are made of textiles, right? And I'm already seeing some responses on this. Synthetic, fabric, cotton. So textile is basically the fabric, the material of which the garment is made, right? So what kind of textiles are there and how are they made, right? What's the source of textile? I'll wait for your responses and let's see what you guys think. So fiber, thread, fabric, cloth, plastic. Gia says plant. Devanshi says fiber. Yavi says woolen clothes, animals. Yeah, you guys are great. You know the source. So textile, which is the fabric, has following sources. Okay, a textile can be made from a source which is animal, right? The wool and the silk comes from animals, right? And which is the oldest form of textile. Several thousand years back, this was the only source which was used to create apparel. And if you've seen some pictures of olden ages, our older generation used to wear clothes which were made of animal skin, and that was the primary source, right? And then came plant. Another source of fabric or textile is plant. And plant-based textile can be cotton, flax, jute, or bamboo, right? These can be another source of creating fabric or textile, right? And then another source is mineral-based, so which is glass fibers, asbestos, and many other sources which are more mineral-based. This is the least commonly used source for fabric or textile. And then the last source is synthetic, which is created through chemical formation. It is done through various material, which could be plastic, which could be polymers, and it is created by human beings in a lab or through a chemical procedure. And these are the 4 kind of sources of textiles. So animal, plant-based, mineral-based, and synthetic, right? But can somebody tell me which is the most widely used source of plants? I'm waiting. Okay, Gaurav thinks it is cotton. Most of you think cotton. One response for animal. Yeah, silk. The right answer is cotton. Cotton is the most commonly used source of fabric or textile. Now here a quick trivia for all of you. Okay. Did you know that cotton was first grown by human beings about 7,000 years back? And it happened in one of the Southeast Asian city. That was the first time cotton was grown. So the origin of cotton is about 7,000 years back, right? Another trivia, China and India are currently the two largest producers of cotton in the world, right? The unit of cotton production is called bales, which is bundle of cottons, and they together produce about 60 billion bales every year. Yeah, 7,000 years is a long time, that's right. But that's how old cotton is, right? And these are the source of creating textile. Once you have the textile, what do you do with it? How do you go and create a garment or a t-shirt or a denim? The mineral and synthetic fibers, like I said, they are made through chemical procedure, and there is a combination of various polymers and stuff, which let's say a polyester is a synthetic material, and the mineral based is let's say a glass fiber or a copper fiber. It's again created using these based again by human being, but the base of that is natural, which is these minerals, and it is not used too commonly, but it is getting used in chemicals are polymers. And if you go and Google them, you know the various kind of chemicals, so nylon, rayon, polyester, acrylic, all are these different kind of synthetic materials. And these materials are made of different kind of combinations. They are generally, the synthetic materials have a little bit of sheen on the garment, and most of this material is not very comfortable to wear. Okay. Now, moving further, we spoke about what is the most common source of textile or fabric, right? And we know it's cotton now, and many of you knew that from before. Now, can you tell me which is the most widely used garment? I have a response: shirt, t-shirt, t-shirt jeans, shirt and pant, top, shirt, t-shirt. Okay. Cotton cloth is done. So that's the source of fabric, most commonly used source for fabric. But what garment is the most widely used garment? The most widely used garment is a t-shirt, right? And why is a t-shirt called a t-shirt? Anybody knows? T-shirt is the most common form of garment. Why is t-shirt called a t-shirt? It's called t-shirt because it forms a T, right? Can you see this? It forms a T, and that's why it is called a t-shirt. It's a shirt which looks like a T, right? How old is t-shirt? So t-shirt first was created about 100 years back in 1905 or so, 115 years back. But again, a trivia, t-shirt, how did it come into being? the t-shirt was initially in 1900 or so was created as an innerwear, right? Like a vest you wear inside your shirt, right? Or a jacket. That's how it was created. Okay. And it was not outerwear. It was something which you wear inside your top wear. So let's say you wear a shirt or a top or a jacket, you wear something inside which is innerwear, which is not visible from outside. And t-shirt was created like that, right? The t-shirt was created 115 years back, not 15 years back, Rian. So just to clarify that, right? 115 years back, about 1905 or 1904 is when it was created. But it was created as an innerwear, which is not visible from outside. You wear something over that, right? It was more to protect you, protect your sweat to not come out and not be visible outside. And hence it was supposed to be an innerwear. But during the World War, and most of the army and navy men used to wear that inside. But after the Second World War, which got over in 1945, some of the army men who used to wear their t-shirt as an innerwear and wear their uniform over on top of that, when they went back home, they took off their uniform because they're not supposed to wear their uniform at home. And they realized that t-shirt which they used to wear inside was very, very comfortable and yet smart. And they started wearing that as outerwear. So this happened in 1945, between 1945 and 1950, that year, right? And some brands spotted this as a stylish product and a very, very comfortable product. And that's when they started producing t-shirt as an outerwear. Okay. That's a little bit of trivia on t-shirt. Now, we spoke about textile, and the most common source of textile is cotton. We spoke about most popular garment or most widely used garment, which is t-shirt. Now let's talk a little bit about how does a garment get created. So next step of that. So when you have a source, which is, let's say, textile, which is, let's say, cotton. Let's say you want to produce a garment or a fabric, which is textile, which is cotton based. So what happens? What are the steps? The first step is you harvest cotton, right? So you harvest cotton in a farm, and you can see that picture. It's a machine-led harvesting. Many parts of India do it manually, like you grow any other crop, right? You harvest cotton, and there is a process called ginning after that, right? Ginning is nothing but once you have the cotton from the plant, you take the seeds out of that through a machine, and it becomes only cotton after that, right? What will they wear? Top of the t-shirt? Nothing. It became outerwear. So you just wear a t-shirt, make it a stylish, and you design that well, like you wear it today. You just wear a t-shirt most of the time, and you don't wear anything. It became outerwear like a shirt, right? Otherwise, they used to wear, like I said, a uniform, their military uniform on top of the t-shirt, and t-shirt was like a vest which we still wear today, right? So now the process of ginning, when you get the cotton from the plant, you take the seeds away, you do ginning, you get only cotton, right? And then this is only cotton, that's how you get. And then once you have only cotton and seeds are out, the next step of creating a fabric is yarn spinning, right? Which is nothing but through this cotton, you make threads. Okay, yarn is also called thread. So you do a process which is called spinning, which is basically making threads out of cotton. Disha, you want to ask something? Just type it out, please. Vanshika is already wearing a t-shirt. So I will come to dyeing, Disha. Just hold on to that. Okay. So you create threads, and you can create threads of different kind and different colors, right? And you can color them, which is either you get colored thread, and which is the yarn spinning process, and that's how you create the threads. Dhanush, please don't press that button, please. And then you put all these threads together to make a fabric, and which is the process which is called fabric weaving. Okay. Now the fabric can be of, depending on which color thread you use, can be of different colors, and what combination of threads you use. Abhay, I'll just let me complete, and then you can ask your question. You can type it out, Abhay. Right? And then you can create a fabric which is nothing but getting all the threads together and weaving them together to make a fabric. Denser the threads are, the more expensive the fabric will be, and you want to get to certain weaving to make sure that the fabric is not transparent, it is comfortable enough, and it holds the shape well, right? And it will last certain washes, it won't go bad too soon, right? Abhay, please type out your question. I'll read it out and try and answer your question, right? And then if you want to dye different colors of fabric, you can do that. Once you have fabric, you can dye and give it any color you want. You can put prints on that, which is, there are various techniques of printing. You can do handwork on the fabric, which is you can, there are many techniques of doing that, and not getting into details of that. So dyeing is a step if you want to do that. If you want to give it a very different color, which you can't do from thread necessarily, so you maybe make a plain white color fabric, and then you can dye it and you can give it whichever color you want to give it, right? It's a step. And that's basically you. And the dyeing process is essentially, I don't have it here in the slide, but there is a special color. You put it in hot water, and there is a specialized technique, and you put the fabric and you do certain process to give it a certain color, right? Again, a quick trivia. How much yarn or thread is required to one t-shirt? We need 6 miles of yarn to make one t-shirt. Okay. 6 miles long yarn to make one t-shirt. That's how much yarn is required, or thread is required to make one t-shirt. Also, another point, and 1 mile is about 1.6 kilometers. So just in case you're wondering how much is 1 mile, so you need a thread of about 10 kilometers long thread to make one t-shirt, right? Another trivia, cotton which is produced in about 1 acre of land. Meaning of yarn is it's a thread. Thread is also called yarn, right? So a thread which you use to create a fabric. So when you create cotton, you take the seeds out through ginning, you make a thread out of that, which is also called a yarn, and then you weave the threads together to make fabric, right? And if you want to dye them of a different color, you can dye that. Meaning of acre is a unit of measure of how large a piece of land is, right? If you have ever gone to a farm, to define how big is this farm, there is a unit which is called acre, and you can Google that for yourself. And 1 acre is a very large piece of land. And if we were to produce cotton in 1 acre farm, that cotton can produce about 1,200 t-shirts, right? So we spoke about two things. A 10 kilometer or 6 miles long thread is required to produce one t-shirt, and output of 1 acre farm cotton can produce about 1,200 t-shirts. Okay. Moving further, what happens next? So you know t-shirt is the most popular kind of garment, but you also have jeans, you have your dress, you have frocks, you have shirt, you have your jackets, and many other things. And you know that they are made of fabric, and fabric is made from 4 sources, which is animal-based, plant-based, mineral-based, and synthetic, right? And when you have that fabric, how do you make the fabric into a garment? So that is where human beings or designers come in place, right? So you know what kind of t-shirt will look good, right? let's say somebody like a character t-shirt. Let's say you like a t-shirt which is Spider-Man, which has Spider-Man on it, right? You like a t-shirt which has Mickey on that. Let's say you like a t-shirt which has, I don't know which are your aeroplane on that, a car on that, right? You want a t-shirt which is full sleeve, long sleeve. You want a t-shirt which has a round collar or round neck. You want a t-shirt which has a proper collar. You want a t-shirt which is Mandarin collar, which is no collar, it's flattest collar, right? And it can be a monster truck, right? Princess, and many things which you like. So the designer will try and create a t-shirt which looks very good. So the print, and she will use different kind of fabrics. She'll use different colors of fabric, and she'll try and design a t-shirt or a dress or a frock or a jeans, and she'll create different prints and patterns, and give it a shape which will look stylish, right? And that's what happens, and which is what fashion designers do. So their job is to look at what are the trends. If you like a paper plane or a car or a monster truck or princess or any other Disney character, there are 3D techniques which are done on the t-shirts and shirts. So designer will create that design, and once the design is created, that design along with the material, which is fabric and buttons and everything else, goes to the factory for manufacturing, right? And a factory will produce large number of t-shirts depending on how many you want to create, and then it'll go for a quality check. So which means all the garments which are made, they've come out well, there are no defects in that. Once that quality check is done, manufacturing is done, it moves to a warehouse, right? And from warehouse, it moves to a store where you go and shop, right? And when you go to a shop, it is your product or a t-shirt is put in a particular order to make sure that it looks appealing. So you will see a display which is called visual merchandising. So when you go to a store, there are techniques to display the merchandise so that you like them. If you put a t-shirt simply, it may not be very appealing. So you put a mannequin, which you can see here in the picture, and in that mannequin, you put a t-shirt and a bottom wear, pair it with a shoe, some cap, some sunglasses to make the whole look so that you like that t-shirt. And that's what visual merchandisers do, right? Another trivia. Every year globally, 2 billion t-shirts are sold. Okay, that's a very large number, 2 billion t-shirts. And that's why this is the most popular form of a cloth or a garment, right? 2 billion t-shirts every year. Until 2010, this number used to be 1 billion. So it has doubled in last 10 years, right? That's how many t-shirts are sold every year worldwide. Now, when you pick up your t-shirt, and if you have one with you, you know there are inside the t-shirt, there are many labels, right? There is one under the neck, right? And which it has many instructions on the t-shirt, right? Typically you have the brand name, right? And then you have a lot of other instructions, right? And these instructions are about what that garment is, right? Let's say this whatever that label is says this is made of 100% cotton, right? This garment is made in Egypt, right? The print on the garment is done in Los Angeles, USA, and it is designed by somebody in Canada, right? And there are some more details which are mentioned here, right? And there are some more instructions, which is the how do you take care of your product so that it has a longer life. There are instructions on the garment, right? And if you pick up your t-shirt and you look at it from inside, you will know that there are many things mentioned. What I'll do is I'll tell you, help you in understanding. And if you guys can pick up a t-shirt from wardrobe very quickly and try and see what all is written there, and in the next chart, I'll explain what some of that means, right? So these are the care instructions of the garment, right? So that this symbol is called a washing symbol, right? And when you have this, and your t-shirt will mention one of this. So this means you have to wash this garment in 30-degree temperature water. This means when you're washing garments in a washing machine, you can control the temperature in most of the washing machines. So you have to, when you're washing it in a washing machine, you put it at 30-degree, 40-degree, 50-degree. This t-shirt cannot be washed in washing machine. It has to be hand washed, right? And this t-shirt cannot be washed. It has to be dry cleaned, right? So again, Khushi wants to understand this again. So this symbol, which is the washing symbol on your t-shirt, wash care symbol, when you have to wash it in your washing machine, if you pick up your t-shirt, you will see there is something written. It'll be typically one of these icons, right? And they mean you can wash it anyway in your washing machine, doesn't matter. This means you have to wash it at 30-degree temperature on the washing machine. This means you have to wash this garment at 40-degree temperature on your washing machine. This means you have to wash this garment at 50-degree temperature on your washing machine. If you go to your washing machine, you'll also see there are symbols of temperature, and you can do those settings, right? Abhay, I'm trying to explain this. Let's see if it works. And if you don't understand, I'll attempt this again. And this symbol means that you can't wash this garment in washing machine. You have to wash it with your hands, right? You can't put this garment in a washing machine, right? Abhay and Khushi, are you clear on this washing symbol now? Can you give me can you type that out in the chat if you're clear? There are typically instructions always, Disha. You have to just pull out your t-shirt and you have to see how it looks, right? Khushi, you have understood. Abhay, I'll try it once again. There are 6 kind of symbols. You can wash your t-shirt in a washing machine or by hand. If you read these symbols, they'll tell you how to wash. So if your t-shirt has this symbol, it means that you have to wash it at 30-degree temperature in the washing machine, 40-degree and 50-degree. And this means you have to wash it only hand wash. You can't put this in washing machine, right? Tumble dry. If your washing machine also has a dryer, right, which dries the clothes. Typically, we dry our clothes in India outside, either in our balcony or a window or on a terrace, right? But outside of India and developed countries, most washing machines also have a dryer because they typically don't have a lot. So let's say Western countries, which are typically very cold, they don't get a lot of sun, and hence Alia, you have to see these symbols inside your t-shirt or any garment you pick up from your wardrobe. Just look inside. Look inside, just turn your garment upside down and see for these. There will be various labels. Try and read them, and you can do that later also, right? And then you can Google them. And it is very important to follow these instructions to make sure that the life of the garment is good, right? The tumble dries, if your machine has a dryer, this tells you instructions about the dryer, right? And then how do you steam iron your clothes? So mild temperature, slightly hot temperature, very hot temperature, and a garment which cannot be ironed. It'll be damaged if you use the iron on that garment, right? So very light temperature, little hotter temperature, high temperature to iron it, and don't iron that garment, right? And then this symbol means this garment has to be only dry clean. This means do not dry clean. And this means to dry, don't wring. So don't twist and turn your garment. Sometimes to take water out, we twist the garment after washing it, right? If the garment has this symbol and if you twist it or wring it, it'll be damaged, right? Abhay, can you just keep your question? You can ask it in the end, okay? Just keep that question with you. Just hold on to that and you can ask it in the end, right? Now, these are some of the wash care items which you should be aware of. You should look at that and make sure that you look at your garments and how do you handle them is critical, right? All right. Now we have spoken about fabric. How do you make that fabric textile to fabric? How do you then create a t-shirt and the t-shirt reaches the store? When you go to the store, who are the people you see, right? The drying symbol is for the washing machine. And this means that you can't dry the clothes in a washing machine. It'll put it in a dryer. It'll be damaged. Here for dryer, you can put some high temperature, and here have to be slightly mild and careful, right? So not to be dried in a dryer and so on and so forth, right? And you can Google some of this. It'll be very easy to find. But once you know that these symbols are there in your garments, you start looking for it, you'll realize, and you will be able to figure that. It's very, very easy. But mostly we don't know that and we never look at that, right? Now I'm talking about when you go to a store, the people you see who are working behind the door. When you enter and go to a store, the first person you see is a security guard, right? The security guard, what he does is he will greet you. He'll possibly give you a shopping bag to carry your selection. He'll also count number of people who have entered the store, right? And if there is any issue which happens, he'll also try and resolve that, right? Then the other person is the salesperson, the staff who is on the floor. When you're trying to look for clothes, he will help you choose and select, right? Then there is the staff who is at the customer service desk. So if you have any queries, if you want to ask any questions, the customer service desk person can help you resolve that. When you have done all of that, you go to the billing counter where you bill your garment. You pay for it and you take your garments away. So this is the cashier and this customer is billing. So this is the fourth person who you see in the store, right? Then people who you don't see on the floor necessarily, every store has a storage area, which is called warehouse. And Parth, I'll answer that question. So there is a storage area which is called a warehouse where you keep more goods or something. If it sells out in the store, you bring it from here and refill the rack, right? I am getting 2 comments about people can't hear me well. If everyone else can hear me well, if you can type it out, please. Otherwise, I'll have to do something else. Can you guys hear me well? If you can give me okay. So some of you can hear, maybe 1 or 2 of you have trouble. Okay. The warehouse manager makes sure that all the, what we call all the clothes which are in the store, which is called inventory, it is managed well. So when merchandise or clothes come from warehouse, they get first kept here and then they move to the floor basis what you are selling, right? So that's the warehouse manager, who you don't see when you go to a shop. This person is the person who's a visual merchandiser. Her job is to make sure that the garments look attractive to you. So how do you present them on a wall or a browser or a table, and make sure that they look good so that you can make an easy selection and buy easily and move out quickly. Then you have the housekeeping staff whose job is to make sure that store is clean and neat and there is no dirt anywhere and everything is well kept. That's a housekeeping person who you sometimes see mopping the floor or keeping the shopping bags in the right place and other stuff, right? And there is a store manager whose job is to make sure everything in the store goes well, right? He is a leader. He is the person who is responsible for making sure that every customer who visits the store finds what he or she is looking for, and their journey to the store is good, right? And the other people who you don't see in the store who work from the offices, which is, I spoke about designers who make clothes. Once the designer have made a design, there are people who our job is to produce that garment in various factories. So they are called people who would manage sourcing of the merchandise, garment or clothes, whatever you want to call it. Then once you have produce these garments. There are people who decide which store will get, let's say there are 100 kind of t-shirts, and for every t-shirt we make 1000 quantity. So this person who is called planner, he decides which store will get how many styles and how many pieces, right? And they decide what will sell in which store and how much should I send. And then basis how much a store sells, they send more. So their job is to make sure that every store has enough styles and enough clothes for you to choose from. And then there is supply chain person whose job is to move clothes from manufacturer's place to warehouse and from warehouse to the store, right? These are the people who you don't see in the store, right? And then last slide is about when you go to a large store, and if you have visited a Pantaloon store, it's a very large store. What all happens in a large Pantaloon stores? It has clothes for everyone. It has clothes for children. It has clothes for grown-ups, women, men. It has shoes. It has handbags. It has everything else, right? It has many brands, or 30, 40, 50, 60, 100 brands, right? For you to choose from. And then it carries many kind of products. So t-shirt, shirt, jeans, dress, shorts, a skirt, a frock, right? And there are many products. And then every style has various sizes. So you, depending on what is your body type, you will have a extra small, small, medium, large, extra large, and various sizes. And depending on what your body type is, you choose a size, right? And there are 600 plus color options, and they are spread across various styles. And then there are 100 plus people who work in that store, right? Now, a quick task for you to do later. If you can go to your wardrobe and check how many brands do you carry, clothes from how many brands you have, and how many products do you have. When I say products, you have to think of t-shirt. Do you have t-shirt, shirt, dress, jacket, denim, normal pant, shorts, innerwear? You have to count how many products you have. How many colors do you have in your wardrobe, right? And the clothes which you have, how many occasions? So for example, when you go to your school, what do you wear? When you go out with your friends, what do you wear? When you go out to a family function, what do you wear? When you go out to a party, what do you wear? When you go out to play, what do you wear, right? So how many occasions you have clothes for how many such occasions, right? So think of that, how many brands, how many products, how many colors, and how many occasions, clothes you have for how many occasions, right? If you can think about that, and that'll be a good thing for you to do, right? And that, in summary, is what I have for you. I hope you enjoyed this session. You learned something new, and it gives you many thoughts to explore and learn the world of fashion and clothes a little bit more.